right, man. Let's talk about the scenario. The Lions clinching the number one seed. It was a debate on First Take today. So ESPN was wrong. Mad Dog was right. Christopher Mad Dog Russo was right. So basically, in reality, the Lions have a 2-game lead on the Philadelphia Eagles. In reality, I think they have a 2-game lead on the Minnesota Vikings too, but really it could come down to one because if they lose the Vikings to the last game of the season. So check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. So the tiebreaker between the Eagles and the Lions in this scenario is common opponents. So the one common opponent they played this season was the Green Bay Packers. All right, had the Lions lost to the Packers once or twice, let's just say once in this scenario for the sake of simple math, then the Eagles would had a tiebreaker because even if the Lions was 1-1 with Green Bay, the Eagles was 1-0. So reality is still at this point only makes it a 1-game lead for the Lions. Now, because the Lions, this lets you know how important that Packer game was. Since the Lions swept the Packers, they have a 2-0 lead over the Packers. So the Eagles have a 1-0 lead. So then it goes to conference. It goes to conference record. Little known fact, or a fact that nobody brings up because this team been injured. Tampa Bay beat Detroit in Detroit, right? And that's the loss that Dan Campbell took responsibility for. And on top of that, they beat Philadelphia. They dominated Philadelphia and Tampa. So they got Philly number for some reason, right? And that was Baker Mayfield's first time beating Jared Goff in his career, by the way. 2 former number 1 overall picks. Obviously 2 different drafts. So what make it bad for Philly is that they lost to another NFC team in a very, I think coaching lost that Atlanta game, if I remember correctly. I think it was a Sunday night, Thursday night game or something like that. So them losing to Atlanta, since the only common opponent they're going to play is Green Bay. Eagles got Dallas. We played Dallas. So that might be something else. They won't lose to Dallas, though. So there's no point even talking about that. They won't lose to Dallas. So if they were to lose to Dallas, all right, and the Lions and the Eagles end up with a tie record, the Lions would hold the tiebreaker over the Philadelphia Eagles because common opponent. Since Green Bay is the only common opponent they got right now, and they both undefeated, it washes it and it sends it to conference record, all right? If they lose to Dallas, then at the end of the day, Lions still hold the tiebreaker. So at that point, if Detroit keep winning, they sew it up anyway. I'm just telling y'all that. So they have Pittsburgh Steelers, the Commanders, and they have 2 easy games left. Dallas and New York, the Giants, to be exact. So after they get past Pittsburgh, which they'll probably run through Pittsburgh. I think they got Pittsburgh. I think they have the crib for Pittsburgh, and they play Washington. So they probably gonna finish the season off 4-0. Probably win the rest of those 4 games. Right? Despite how good Pittsburgh defense is, their run defense can be had a little bit, right? But yeah, so right now that's the scenario. Now, as far as Minnesota, they still got to play us. They lost to us already, and the other loss was to, I don't know who else they lost to. Can't remember. They lost to us. We still got to play them, so as long as they keep a 1-game lead, we'll be 1-1, and then it'll go to common opponents. I want to say they beat the Packers, right? So they ain't played the Packers again yet, neither. They ain't played the Bears again. So they got 2 division games left. We got 2 left, too. And that will be the Bears and them. So realistically, if the Lions win until to the last game of the season, depending who all our common opponents are with Minnesota, that game may not matter. So that game may not matter. We know they're going to play because that's what Dan Campbell's philosophy is. But that game may not matter the last game of the season. It may be for the marbles. So it all pretty much depends on, common opponents. And really, at this point, we're just talking about common opponents. Let me double check and see who they lost to. So, yeah, they lost to the Rams. I forgot about that. They lost to the Rams. So, once again, the Lions have the Bills, Bears, San Francisco, and Minnesota, right? So, them losing to the Bills probably does the less harm because it's not a conference opponent. But if they lose to one of those other NFC teams, then it hurts. It hurts even more because it's like a double dip. Because then, the first tiebreaker is common opponents, Chicago with Minnesota, and then conference opponents. So really, the best thing for the Lions to do is just keep winning. Keep winning. But they have a 1-game lead over. In reality, even whatever happened this week, they have a 2-game lead, unless these two teams lose over Minnesota and Philadelphia. They have a 2-team win lead because they already beat Minnesota, right? And they hold the common opponent tiebreaker right now, so it's just a tiebreaker. But they got a better conference victory even after this week over Philadelphia. So right now the Lions are in a good position, but the only bad thing that shake out for the Lions right now is their last 3 games outside of this is all NFC opponents. So, but if they can get past Buffalo, going to Chicago is always tough. And then even going out to San Francisco, they're playing for playoff berth, so they're going to be tough. So playing those 3 teams, is critical. And if if they can win the next 3 weeks, then Minnesota don't matter. And it'll be interesting to see if Dan Campbell stick to his guns and still play as starters versus Minnesota. And I think kind of in that scenario, I don't want to jump the gun, but in that scenario, you might have to, because do you really want your starters to have 2 weeks off? So, and then lose rhythm. So I don't know, you treat it like the 3rd preseason game back in the day when it was 4 preseason games where y'all played 1 or 2 series into the second half. Do you play the whole game? Do you sit guys that got nicks and bruises? Do you sit guys that have injury history or that's kind of banged up, like a Carlton Davis, like a DJ Reader? Do you let them, kind of get a refresh? Do you put some of these younger guys in, if Rackstraw is healthy and F.A. Melifano is healthy, you let them get more reps and you rest a Kirby Joseph or a Brian Branch? You know what I'm saying? Do you rest a Jack Campbell if Anazoni is ready to come back? You let him get some reps in there. If you get Jalen Reeves-Maven back, do you let them get the majority of the reps in there and let some of these guys who've been going through the ringer? Do you sit Taylor Decker? You got a lot of questions to be had, but that's a good problem to have. Me personally, I probably play him into the 3rd quarter and see what happens. But I probably the guys who got nicks and bangs and veterans, I'll probably just cut their snap count. A guy like Darius Smith cut his snap count. Reader cut his snap count. Them type of dudes, I just, Jack Campbell, maybe let Anazoni get in there if he healthy enough. Maybe I sit, maybe I cut the snap count of Branch and FA, or I cut the snap count and kind of, let Ennis Rackstraw play the second half, let Emmanuel Mosley play the second half. Maybe, but guys that I know that's banged up or got injury history, maybe I sit a Carlton Davis. Maybe I sit a Taylor Decker. Maybe I sit a Ragnow, after the second half. But some of them important guys, maybe I'll leave them in there. So it's an interesting problem they may have. But right now, this week, if you going to lose a game, it got to be an FC game. If you're not going to lose a game, you don't want to lose a game. The one of the games you can't lose is Chicago, San Francisco, Minnesota. But if you win this week, and you win against Chicago, you can go out to Santa Clara and win against San Francisco, it's a wrap. It's sold up. If Philadelphia lose another game, if Minnesota lose another game, then it's a wrap too. For the most part, as long as you keep winning, you win the next 3 games. So it's an interesting scenario. So really you want to be healthy. You want to be healthy. They're getting healthy. They get some guys back. So as they get healthy, I really think you're gonna see a bump in snap count out for a lot of these guys. These guys coming back. So should be interesting. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. We'll live drop video. Hit the link tree. You can find me on X, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Hit the link tree. Find me everywhere. Peace.